So today's special guest I have is a guy by the name of Black Logic, who is a fellow YouTuber, also fellow FBA, Foundation of Black American. Been following this guy now for what, about 5 years, 4 years now? Been
I
watching.
think it's been about 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, been exchanging ideas back and forth. We don't always agree on everything, but there's several things that we do agree on, and we're probably 99% there. I was really impressed when I saw him interview one of the major voices on this app for Donald Trump. What's his name again? The guy, what was it? You had him on
Stephen
your
Gardner.
Yes, you had, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, my man's moving up in this world. Okay. I remember back before when you were kind of like reluctant about voting for Donald Trump, and then this 4 years of Joe Biden made you say, you know what, instead of throwing the vote away to the couch, let me get out there and push the needle a little bit. So tell the crowd about yourself and what you do here and how they can find you.
Oh, well, my YouTube channel is Black Logic, and I basically kind of give my perspective on the news on hot topics that are U.S. related, whether it be domestically or international. And then I do have my biases because, again, it's, my whole goal is to really view the news in a very unbiased way, but with a sprinkle and a hint, so to speak, of Black empowerment. Because, again, I know who we are. I know where we came from. And I know what we can, what we can actually do. So, again, I try to look at things as unbiasedly as I can, but I do, again, have a twist of Black empowerment in there because, again, we definitely need to be empowered. So that's basically the kind of the concentration of my channel.
Okay, I just want to give a shout out to the people that's in the room so far. What's up, Rocket Man, Rocket Matrix? What's up, WTF? Who else we got? SD Johnson. How y'all doing today? Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Be sure to smash that like button. Let's start talking about this first statement here that Rocket Matrix says. There's no Black and Brown alliance. See, whenever I hear the Democrats or somebody from the Democrats say Black and Brown alliance, I instantly tune out because I know, that they are full of mess when they talking that, that Black and Brown alliance mess, because I know what's coming next. Black and brown people of the LGBTQ community, illegal immigrants, all that gets caked up under one title and put up under one canopy, which what that does is for someone who is seeking Black empowerment, that waters our cause down. One, two, it gives us, it pushes other groups to not see empathy in our cause when we are speaking totally for ourselves. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it absolutely does. And again, we have to look at it. And I hate to bring it in. I hate to bring ethnic. I hate to bring race inside of it. But we have to look at any large movements that we've had in the past of us gathering together, uniformity and being organized, as which a lot of people say that we're not organized. We don't support each other. We don't work hard. We have all these very racial sort of defamatory language towards our people, for one. But two, when we get in the streets and protest, and I've stated this on my channel, that 99% of the time is due to some sort of racial discrimination and or an injustice to our people. We have never been in the streets trying to protest something illegally. So again, we're not looking at this from a Hispanic, Latino, Haitian, Chinese, Indian, whatever all these illegal immigrants are from, because they come from around the world, is that the mass majority of them are from south of the border. So again, they have these Mexican flags, Honduran flags. I saw one guy with an American flag. You're fighting for people who are illegally in the country. You're either here legally or in a legal status, or you may even be a citizen, because you're looking at it from your humanitarian standpoint versus the law. And if you love America and you love what it stands for, then you have to love the Constitution. You have to love our immigration laws. Thus, you're fighting against that. So when I look at the dichotomy of them talking about the Black or Brown alliance, show us when you guys came out in droves to support us. Yeah, you're always going to see onesies and twosies, just like when I was looking at the protest, I saw a Black guy. Matter of fact, I saw two Black guys. Not one was on a bike who wasn't really protesting, but another was protesting. And he's like, I love the Mexican flag. And the reporter said, well, why do you like the Mexican flag? I like the colors. Like, go sit your silly ass down somewhere. Like, this is what I'm talking about. You're going to have your one or two Negroes, but to answer your question, there's never been a black-brown alliance on a major scale where we felt like the Hispanic community went out for us. But that is what they're stating to us. You know, we're the black people. Now they're just speaking disrespectful to us. Now, me personally, been in the military, I have many Hispanic friends, have nothing against the people or what they are going through. But again, looking at this from an American citizen standpoint about the breakage and the violation of the law, again, we can't combine what we feel or how humanity may look at it versus the law. It is what it is.
Now, I'm a level with you. Between 2018 and I'd say between 2019 and 2021, I went full coon mode, right? And basically what caused me to do that, because I didn't know anything about the FBA movement. You see what I'm saying? Only thing I knew about, you know, what black people were standing behind was the Democratic Party. I saw where I was trolled a lot, doxxed, you know what I'm saying, and harassed by people who were openly pushing for every other agenda but our own. Before then, I was straight up pro-black. You know what I'm saying? And I saw slowly but surely the Democratic Party had co-opted every movement we had. Black Lives Matter used to be a good movement before the Democratic Party co-opted that. I supported those sisters. You know what I'm saying? But then I realized that it was co-opted and then it was overrun by feminism. And then on top of that, everything started, you know, going around the political aspect of it. Because when I was in Charlotte during the riots back in 2015, it was a lot of the people that were there for Black Lives Matter that was talking trash about Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. I was like, okay, wait a minute now. So what happened? You know, then come 2020, they're sitting up there talking about Donald Trump and making it seem like it was Donald Trump who put his knee on George Floyd's neck. They made it seem like Donald Trump was the one who chased down Ahmaud Arbery or, you know, took out Breonna Taylor. And I'm like, wait a minute. So every time that we had one of these movements, I remember going to the BLM protest. It was a peaceful protest in South Carolina, where these I went down there because it was a white supremacist had bit a black woman's face. You know what I'm saying? At a restaurant. And while we were standing down there, they talked probably 5 minutes about the incident. And then after that, they got to talking about LGBTQ. They were saying that black men are the ones who lead the cause of violence against trans women. And everybody was cheering for that. Then they talked about the rebel flag and the Confederate statues needed to be removed from all over the city. They only gave that girl 5 minutes. And everything else was about hating on Trump. And I'm like, so is this flag what got y'all in an uproar? So I went and bought one just to spite them and put it up in my backdrop, which is how I became famous on TikTok. They was like, look, he's flying that flag of white supremacy. You mean to tell me you're getting in your feelings over a flag when we got bigger fish to fry? You know, we're celebrating the flag being taken away from the NASCAR track when we don't even go there. Like, we're celebrating that as a victory. So I went full cool mode. I didn't even know anything about the FBA movement. And when I first heard about this, I'm like, wait a minute, they're preaching the same stuff that I'm talking about, putting black people first, where the Democrats put black people on the back burner. So I know I can't take back my internet history because I spent a lot of time cooning. But I mean, I was upset. I was angry because I'm like, look at these idiots. They're talking all this Democrat stuff and they don't realize that they're signing their lives away. What up, Kelly? But yeah, what was your thoughts on that, Ross? I mean,
I guess when I think about, you know, the Democrats in general, since we're talking about the Democrats, we're still operating and voting based upon what Martin Luther King did. Mm-hmm. Because again, he's the one who brokered the deal with Lyndon B. Johnson to sign the Civil Rights Act into law. And ever since we did that, and it was recorded, they actually have a recording of Lyndon B. Johnson saying, we signed the legislation, we'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Well, we're coming up on 100 years. And we're still and we're still majority voting Democrat. And I'm not telling anyone to vote Republican or independent. What I'm saying, vote for your best interest, not based upon what people are stating. Now that we know that all of these politicians are liars, Donald Trump is a liar, Biden is a liar. We'll see if J.D. Vance is a liar, Kamala Harris was a liar, Obama was a liar, Bush was a liar, Clinton was a liar. All these people have dirt in their. All these people have dirt under their nails. They have skeleton in their closets. They have bodies buried in their backyard. There's something that they're covering up or hiding. So instead of focusing on the people and letting either side fearmonger us into a particular ideology, whether it be being a Republican or conservative, Democrat or liberal, independent, Green Party, Red Party, Blue Party, whatever it may be, just read the legislation. Don't be lazy. See what's for your best interest. Because again, the Black community can see if one party is stating, hey, we're going to allow 11 million illegal immigrants inside of the country, and we're going to plant them in strategic areas. We're going to plant them downtown. We're going to plant them in the Black community. Wait, why are you not planting them in the white community? No. You got community centers, you got churches, you have resources. Wait a minute, don't the white communities have that too? Yeah. But again, they're more relatable to you guys. Well, we don't speak Spanish. Yeah. They don't speak English. But here you go. We're going to plant them in your neighborhoods. Okay, we're going to plant them in your neighborhoods, and we're going to have the community center to be closed down just so we can house them. Okay, we're going to pay the church off a couple of $1,000s so now can they sleep in the church. But okay, what about the youth that were using that community center? Oh, they're going to have to bus across town. They're going to have to be in backyard. Well, we don't have large backyards. Okay, you're going to have to deal with it.
Right.
And then you have another, and here's the contrast. Then you have a Republican Party, which again, historically, Black people don't really vote Republican, but stating they're going to stop illegal immigration, which is the cause of all these people being supported by the federal government without tax dollars. Like you go there, you work your 10, your 12, your 15, your $150 hour job, whatever it may be. Nonetheless, you're paying to a system that's paying for people to stay in the country illegally that goes against your own interest. And we're not understanding the dichotomy and the destruction of that we keep attaching emotions or the relations or maybe the connections we may have, where I have an expanded friend and his family members going through this. So I support illegal immigration. I'm gonna go out there and protest. Wait a minute. We should support robbing banks so all of us can rob banks and no one get caught. I mean, it's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the thing is, I really want Black people that still vote Democrat to say this, to just to realize something here. And I know it's hard to make common sense to these people. Look at what the Democrats are doing for these illegal immigrants versus what the Democratic Party is doing for or has done for Black people. Maxine Waters is ready to get arrested, standing, you know what I'm saying, toe-to-toe with ICE, toe-to-toe with the National Guard, ready to put her career online to try to get this Huerta character out of there. And I'm sitting up here thinking to myself, when did she do that for Black people? They don't even make those kind of moves for Black people. When it comes to us, they tell us to sit around and wait. Have patience, pray. They try to appeal to us through the church, try to appeal to us through music. They have no respect for us, right? But when it comes to any other marginal or so-called marginalized community, they got all the respect in the world for them. It's kind of like, how long would you wait at a restaurant if you see that you're not getting any service? You know what I'm saying? How long would you wait at that restaurant when you're hungry and you're not getting any service? So that's why when these different Black talking heads come up and try to butt heads with me, I laugh at them. They challenge me to debates, but I laugh at them because they really don't have a point of view to debate about. And I noticed that a lot of them brag about being college educated, and they're part of those three-letter Greek organizations where they had to submit to another man in order to be considered cool, because they weren't hitting on anything in high school. So they want to talk
about the Divine Nine.
Yeah, the Divine Nine. And those characters, they got some quacky stuff going on with them. So I'm sitting up here like, they're putting their lives on the line for these illegal immigrants. And I think Donald Trump, now I've had a recent falling out with Donald Trump because of what he did with those South African immigrants, but I believe that's going to come to a ceasefire with Donald Trump's and Elon Musk relationship deteriorating. So, but for him to say that he's sending in the National Guard to California and the Marine Corps to California, that's doing the Lord's work in my book.
Well, I'm not against it at all because, again, he's using federal directives. He's using Title 10 to federalize National Guard troops, which takes the authority away from the governor because he believes that that area that they're in, LA, is in total unrest and that there is an insurrection due to the violence, nonetheless, due to the violence. Now, I don't know if that same title was invoked when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, but again, we see them in the flesh that destroying these things. Most of them are covering themselves up. But when you had the Black Lives Matter movement, okay, that's not associated with the organization. I want to make that distinction. And people was out there protesting, no justice, no peace. You saw our faces. We wasn't covered up. But then you had a professional agitator group by the name of Antifa that was destroying property, burning buildings and looting. Don't get me wrong. Were there a couple of black people here and there that was doing some of the similar stuff, more looting than they were doing rioting and burning stuff? Absolutely. I won't take that away. But when we look at the mass amount of them, yeah, you have your outliers of people destroying things. But when did the police start attacking? When did black people start attacking the police? Do you think we would have been met that, them moving through the crowd, maybe shooting a couple of tear gas? I just think that the situation would have became more volatile. And again, that is just looking at historical past relationships between law enforcement and black people in general, and even to our current day. I mean, black people are still, according to the FBI, by the way of the DOJ, we have the most hate crimes committed against us. We have the most unarmed killings by the race soldiers with badges, because not all police is bad. Not all police deal in brutality. But unfortunately, there's quite many that speaks for the bunch. One sour apple spoils the bunch, so to speak. So again, that's how people are looking at that. And I always encourage people, hey, if we have issues with law enforcement, not only can we try to push legislation like no choke holds, okay, no knock warrants, things of that nature, but we also need to encourage our people to be police officers where they live. That way we can start policing our own. So when I see a black guy with long hair, I don't automatically think he a thug. That is how black people like to wear their hair. My son had plaits, cornrows, and he got an afro. I mean, whatever he wants to do with his hair, that doesn't demonize, because again, you have people from your culture, you have people from your community that is policing you so they understand, versus somebody who lives on a lily white part of town and trying to police people who they have no cultural connection. They don't know how they respond to certain things. Everything is a valid not. And then you have these subconscious biases, right, that are stereotypical, that has been reverberating through your community for a very long time, but it's not as if you're going to link up with a couple of black people to know how we respond and react to certain things that are nonviolent, but maybe threatening to you.
With that being said, I was in DC on December 12th, 2020. And I saw where the police were allowing Antifa and Black Lives Matter to beat up on non-combative Trump supporters. When the Proud Boys tried to jump in and, help these people out, the police made them seem like they were the bad guys, right? And then the way that the media drove the narrative is that the Trump supporters were the ones being violent. When the Trump supporters were up there in peace, they were up there protesting peacefully. Antifa and BLM met them up there with violence. And they were shooting fireworks at us. Let's see, I got pepper sprayed that weekend. Some people that were there with me at that event got burnt severely because they were throwing fireworks at us, right? But when they showed it on the news, they made it seem like it was the Proud Boys that was doing all that mess. And that's when I kind of fell back away from Conservative Inc. per se, because Conservative Inc. didn't say anything to defend them. Candace Owens, that's in her wheelhouse to defend, someone if they're, to try to go against the narrative that black people are believing. But she let the world believe that the Proud Boys were racist. She let the world believe that these 3%er, that 3%er group were a bunch of racists. And I was there, boots on the ground, filming it, showing everybody, hey, look, there's several black people in this organization. There's several Latinos in this organization. You know what I'm saying? At one point, when I was walking back to my hotel, I was surrounded by nothing but black Proud Boys, right? And the crazy part about it was they don't put that on the news. You know what I'm saying? They just be like, well, and that's when I kind of fell back and I realized that conservative ink is only paid to keep the vision going, just like the far left is. You see what I'm saying? But have you noticed that a lot of these Democratic shills on social media are now coming after the FBA movement?
I mean, absolutely. But I do want to poke some holes in the Proud Boy argument, if you don't mind. I just want to give you a little bit of pushback because I think it's imperative to note when we look at the actions of the Proud Boy. Like, what is the ideology of the Proud Boys? If you can remind us of that.
Well, to me, I thought they were a bunch of white supremacists as well, right? And when I got a chance to sit down and like interview some of them, you know what I'm saying? They were cool as hell with me. You know what I'm saying? And they even said that they're not into like the neo-Nazi thing. They were anti. As a matter of fact, they told me they're anti-neo-Nazi. He said that the media gives them a bad rep of calling them neo-Nazis. Now, you do have some assholes in that organization, like you're going to have assholes in any organization. But if these were neo-Nazis and you seen how surrounded I was and how outnumbered I was, I would have been in trouble. Not only that, they would have had the federal police on the streets of Washington, D.C. if it was neo-Nazis.
So I guess I asked the question, what is the cause of their group then? What are they pushing? What ideology are they pushing? What kind of agendas they're trying to get past? Because groups don't just form for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done any extensive research on the Proud Boys. I've done some very light research where they had some accounts that could be considered very discriminatory. Mm-hmm. And me personally, not stating that you're saying something untrue, but I've never seen one or a group of Black Proud Boys. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but again, I think if it was publicly known, we would then have to see the words that they're speaking. So again, I wonder the ideology versus what they're affiliated with.
Well, that weekend I saw them responding to. They did a lot of riot response that summer, right? And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that Antifa was doing, I don't say it was the black people that was involved in this, because I said this once and I say it once again, and people may give me pushback on this one. White people are not scared of other white people. These black Democrats are terrified of white people. So they had to get white people out there in that crowd to try to, spark it up. Now, when they showed it on the news, they showed black people doing all the looting, but it was the white people that actually, the Antifa guys, who came out there with all that nonsense. And I was telling, it was funny because when I was in DC, I sat down and I talked to somebody that was there with BLM. And we sat there and talked for like 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? He was just from across the river in Virginia. And he was a younger guy. He asked me, how could I support Donald Trump? And I gave him good reasoning. And we sat there and talked for a long time. And I told him, I said, listen, I said, I will say this on my podcast, and I'll say that like I'm telling you right now. When I saw what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, I was frustrated. I was damn near in tears, right? I was pissed off at Candace Owens. As a matter of fact, Candace Owens and Officer Tatum, I'm going to thank them for helping me start this channel, because if I wasn't reacting with my frustration to their erroneous takes on this, there would have never been a YouTube channel that was pushing politics. You see what I'm saying? So when people label me as a coon, a sellout, or an Uncle Tom, it's like, do you really just go through my videos and see where I stand? Because I go after, even when there's something going on the right, I hit it with as much energy as I do on the left. I don't toe the party line. You know what I'm saying? And you know this personally, because I had one of the people that used to follow this channel, and he came to your channel one night trying to get us, bickering back and forth. And I didn't let that happen. I quelled that real quick. And I told him straight up, and I tell anybody right now, don't ever take what you hear Ricky Manor say and go after another black person and try to use my words to weaponize an argument against another black person. That's not the way I roll. Never has been, never will be. I'm just going to speak what's on my mind. You can agree or disagree, but don't ever, go after another black person. And when that dude done that, I was done with him. You know it, I know it. And I kicked him out of the channel. And I made it publicly known. I don't fuck with you. You feel me?
I know exactly who you're talking to, and I think I ignored it. Again, is what social media
would do that.
social media is a internal monster. It just devour any and everything in its path. So I try to be so fair and neutral and unbiased in some of my takes, and I'll let people know when I'm being biased, because again, I don't want you to feed off my rhetoric. I want to give you unbiased, neutral stories from different perspectives, whether it be independent news, Republican news, Democratic news, of how these different news agencies report the news versus the truth. And then back that up with maybe some video footage and or some sort of evidence or metrics that is tied to a verifiable source that we can essentially trust in. Because again, this people up here giving their take about things, if you are aligning people, and that's why I always kind of figure that my channel is going to be, it's going to be slow grow. It's not going to explode. It's because people want you to take a side. They want you to take a side, and I won't take a side, because my side is what co-aligns with some of my beliefs. Because on some things, I could, this legislation is coming from the Democrats. I can see how that can benefit family members, people, black people, etc. You know what? This legislation on this side of the house, the Republican side of the house, I can see how it can benefit, people in general, or black people, or whatever the case may be. But me first, right? Me and my family first, and then my larger community. So I go by that, necessarily not by the color of someone's skin or someone's political party. So I tell people, listen, it's very hard to ignore these very volatile and invigorating figures, because the way that they go at each other, and they're trying to basically, who's more popular, right? I'm gonna make this person look bad. You're gonna be trying to make me look bad. Whoever can do a better job at that, but no one is looking at the legislation. These are the things that are gonna take anywhere from 2 to 4 or even 6 years to really see a difference in your lives. But nonetheless, what legislation does you the best? And how does that legislation, immigration, if we look at the bigger picture and not look at it through an emotional lens or from a humanitarian point of view, because being a humanitarian is subjective. It's subjective. Wait a minute. We gave out food aid and they let the men eat first and not the children. It's subjective. Oh, that's inhumane. I can't believe it. Did the kids eat though? Yeah, they ate, but they let the men eat first. That's subjective. So the way that people, now granted, there are some egregious things that humanitarians, I totally understand, are key points. But when we look at the bigger picture of it all, law's not based on how you feel or humanitarian focus. Is based upon what's right, what's wrong, according to that country and according to that law. So when we look at the broader picture, Ricky, I mean, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Go by legislation, not by what you see or what you feel or what you hear. What proposed legislation are these different political figures putting forth, and how that benefits you? Because again, if I'm just going to be a Republican, well, you coincide with the Republicans. A lot of things you saying are red state MAGA. Okay, so I want secure borders, because when I travel the world, because I went to Vietnam, I went to Thailand, I went to
I enjoyed those videos, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And we went to Japan this year. And I'm like, I've seen a whole hell of a lot. And so instead of judging people, tell me what you're going to do legislation wise. And I think that's too boring. People like the political showcase and the political emotional deformation of character battle between these political parties. It happens every 4 years.
I mean, they wouldn't be famous if they didn't have what's the word I'm looking for? They wouldn't be super wealthy if they weren't crooks. Donald Trump would not be super wealthy if he didn't cut corners. These people are billionaire oligarchs. But I think that, even though that I'm not like, quote unquote MAGA, I think that Donald Trump is doing the Lord's work by actually proactively attacking the issue that's been, bothering us in America for so long, which is illegal immigration. He is proactively doing something about it. He's not pussyfooting. He's standing on business, and I got to give him his flowers where flowers is due. There are certain things that Donald Trump does that I can't be affiliated with MAGA, and I'm gonna give you two reasons that I can't be MAGA quite MAGA, because I saw the rhetoric with that whole situation with what's the kid name that we gave money to, and they were calling him a murderer. Okay, cool. But you hanging him in the court.
The one who stabbed the other gentleman in his heart.
Yeah.
Okay. That happened. That happened right here in Texas. That's local to me, actually, in Frisco. That's in my county.
Oh, okay. But the thing that I was trying to, that I saw was a lot of people wearing MAGA hats, black people and white people getting on TikTok every day talking trash about the black community. I'm like, well, wait a minute here. Now, what you talking about holding black people accountable? Yeah, there's some screwed up people in our race. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to sit there and talk about holding black people accountable, I didn't stab the kid. I didn't raise the kid who stabbed the kid. If I had been there, I would have broke it up before it gotten that far. You see what I'm saying? That's like trying to hold every white person accountable for the McMichaels. That would be wrong. So to sit back and, for them to actually run $1 million campaigns against that 17-year-old kid, I couldn't deal with that. And the second thing was when Donald Trump allowed those South African immigrants into the country, talking about the genocide of white farmers in South Africa. I was like, you know what? But this thing that he's doing with the illegal immigrants, I'm standing behind him 110%. This is something that needed to happen a long time ago. And everybody else was pussyfooting with the issue. Donald Trump was like, okay, in his first term, he wasn't allowed to get money for the wall. His second term, he's taking matters into his own hands. It needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like yesterday, because when you start thinking about what these illegal immigrants are contributing to our country, can you really put a price tag on the safety of American citizens? And then on top of that, when Donald Trump reacted the way he's doing, look at how they're reacting. They're flying their country's flags as they burn down the American flag. They're destroying police vehicles. They are, they're tying up the system so much to the point that people that need that police support in LA, it's not there. You see what I'm saying? So they're tying up resources right now, just trying to fight our government back. So if that's the way they feel, they can feel that way from south of the border. And why in the hell, if you feel that America is unfair, would you want to come here? Why would you want to stay here if you're not welcome? If I'm not welcomed in your house, but my intent is to go into your house, eat your food up, inconvenience you and your family, at that moment in time, I'm not a guest at your house. I'm a burglar. And if you try to tell me to leave and I don't leave, and you try to violently remove me, but I try to violently stay, I'm no longer a guest. I'm a burglar. What is so hard to realize about that? So you got these lefties saying, well, Donald Trump don't have to use the military on American soil, but you got invaders on American soil. So what is he supposed to do?
I do want to double back on your South African comment, because I spoke about that on my channel. Because I had to do some research to see if these South African Afrikaners, or Boers, so to speak, meaning farmers, Afrikaners, that are descendants of the colonizers there in South Africa that went through the apartheid. A lot of these are the children of those people who were in the apartheid, who was controlling every aspect of South Africa. Now, granted, a lot of they're descendants of the Netherlands, right? The Netherlands, the Danes, etc., Vikings, whatever. And one thing that I think people are not looking at, where's the evidence of people getting killed? That's number one. Again, everything has to be based off evidence. He showed up, President Trump showed up, something that was from Rwanda, of humanitarian effort, of some people down. It wasn't even in the right country. Let's just say that. It wasn't even in the right country. Of the picture that he showed in the Oval Office. Now, he probably got that from somebody. I'm pretty sure that the president is not looking for pictures to show people on national television. So somebody duped the president to make him look incompetent. And the more Donald Trump looks incompetent, people just gonna believe he's incompetent. But anyway, I digress with that. But here's the kicker. I do not believe those European, white Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon countries, if they had evidence that some 90% black country in Africa was genociding white people, do you think it would have been anything that would have stopped the Netherlands, the Icelanders, the Greenlanders, the French, the Spanish, the Italian, the Germans, all of those European countries, with our powers combined, we're going to destroy South Africa. That's what that would have been about. Mm-hmm. So for America to jump in there because of Elon Musk, probably more than likely.
More than likely Elon Musk.
To have this 50 to 100 people who are now, we're going to, again, use the American tax dollars. Just like we did with the Afghans. And all the other people who are here that the American people gave sanctuary to. That's the country we live in. And then again, and to your point, I'll bring it full circle to current day. And this is what I've been speaking about. So again, people are not looking at this from an emotional standpoint. And again, it's difficult to separate your emotions from the visualization of what people are going through currently. But again, these are people who are flying their country's flag. Flags are a sign of symbolism and pride. Mm-hmm. So I'm proud to be from this country as I'm protesting for you to allow me and my countrymen and women to stay in this country as I antagonize and assault law enforcement.
Make that make sense. I mean, you got to think about it like this too. What we're dealing with, we're not dealing with illegal immigration at this point in time. Now we're dealing with invaders. Because, like you say, they're flying their country's flags as they antagonize law enforcement. And on top of that, trash talk American citizens who don't want them here. So if everything's great in Mexico, right? You're proud to be from Mexico, then why are you ashamed to live there? And we can't say that Mexico is totally poor. I've been to Mexico City. Mexico City is freaking awesome. It's a freaking metropolis. You know, when people go outside of these tourist resorts, let's say like in Los Cabos or even where's that other place there about Tijuana, right? Or Cancun, you go outside of those resorts. Yeah, it's poverty there, but we have that same poverty here in America. Ever been to Appalachia? Ever seen some of those trailer parks in the Midwest? So if I showed those trailer parks in the Midwest and went through Appalachia and said, hey, this is America, then the whole world would see us as trailer parks, right? So, I mean, there are colleges in Mexico where people actually go to learn brain surgery. So Mexico really isn't all that messed up of a country. Come to think about it, I got a good friend of mine who travels back and forth to Mexico.
Well, so, can I add in right there if you don't mind?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
First and foremost, Mexico is a wonderful country. It's a beautiful country. I know a lot of people vacation there. I know people who've been to Mexico City. They love Mexico City. And the people are very nice. Mm-hmm. And I think people, when you speak out against, because this is a very public, politicized, racial, sort of volatile epidemic that we're going through when it comes to these protests and race relation between all these people. This has nothing to do with Mexicans, Venezuelans, Hispanics, Latinos, wherever country they're from. This is simply about the law. That's what this is about. Because here's the thing. This is the thing I raise. I look at El Salvador, and I mean, I love everything that president did for his country. There was a lot of people that was against him, but now families are back together. Kids can walk the street at night. He totally eradicated gang and cartel violence from his country. And if I'm a Central American country and I do a survey, I do a vote, is this what we want? I know that a lot of these gangsters and cartel members are your family members. I know your sons and daughters. I know your uncles, and fathers. But Do we want a peaceful country where our country can thrive the same way El Salvador did? That could be the blueprint, and you tweak it however you need be, but that can be the blueprint. First and foremost, in order for our country economics to get better, we have to eradicate cartels and organized gang crime to a very small percentage, where people can feel safe in our own country. And with that, we can then start building the infrastructure and start working on trade and exports and things of that nature the same way any other country around the world. But if you're not secure in your country, you have no infrastructure. Think about that. Before a country can secure themselves, before they can secure themselves outwardly, you have to be secure inside. You have domestic terrorism in your country. And the El Salvadorian president knew that, and he eradicated it. Right. Like, no. We're going to have petty crime. All you guys with gang, where are you? That's discriminatory. Why are you walking around with an MS-13 tattoo if you're not part of MS-13? Is that the new style? Now, granted, I said this before. I don't agree with everything he did. Some of the things I even saw that can be quite inhumane. Because whether they're guilty or innocent, I'm pretty sure some of them are innocent. So the treatment could be justified to a certain degree. But you can't argue with his results. You see, that's what people. Yeah. That's the one thing that people are not arguing with. Like, yes, we think he targeted certain people, but yes, did crime go down? Yeah, crime went down significantly.
Well,
you see what I'm saying? So
I think that what Donald Trump is doing right now is what I would call a necessary evil. A necessary evil. Yeah, people may not like the way that, ICE is, raiding and whatnot, but at the same time, it's necessary because it's not going to heal itself on its own. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about the kids and this, that, and the third? The way I look at it, if it comes down to my safety for my family, versus their, humane treatment, F them and F their kids, because that's the way they feel about me and mine. F them and F their children. And I know that sounds cruel, but at the end of the day, I'm where I'm at. They are where they're from, or they're here from where they're from. I don't care what it takes to get rid of this problem. I'm tired of the property damage that we're seeing. And now they're talking about one on June 14th, doing this all over the country. This is what I'm hearing through the internet grapevines, that they're organizing riots all over the country. So on June 14th, you're going to come to my city and tie up my police force. You're going to come to my city and tie up my fire department. You're going to come to my city and put my people in danger. You know what I'm saying? And the way I look at it, there's many people in South Carolina that's wishing it would happen. They're wanting it to. You got these old country boys down here talking about, I wish an MF would. You know what I'm saying?
Don't bring that to a small town.
I was listening to that when you chimed in. I was pumping myself up on that Jason Aldean song. Try that in a small town.
Ricky, that's why people call you coon, because you listen to Don't Bring It to, and you're enjoying it.
I'm just glad that it's not aimed at me this time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about it. I'd rather this smoke that we're getting in the media right now be aimed at somebody else than us. So yeah, I enjoyed that Jason Aldean song, because now I can sing the lyrics about somebody else instead of me.
But I mean, they've been trying to bring black people into this for a very long time, and I think that again, even though they've been spewing racial tropes at us for a very long time, not just behind these protests, they've always got online and made these videos about how, Hispanic people, Latino people, Mexican people, Honduran, whatever they're from, Venezuelan people work hard and we're not lazy. All these white supremacist tropes. And I'm just like, first and foremost, who built the foundation of America? Second and foremost, we can actually point to tangible things that we've done. And then I look at today, right? And because, people say, black people invented all these things and they don't believe that we invented all these things. I say, well, okay, instead of going back in history, because that's just too easy to go back in history, all the achievements that we made, and look at the things that we've invented today. Like that guy, he made, what's his name? Benjamin, or I forgot his name, but he one who made Plastolene. He's the one who made a reactor that takes plastic junk, plastic bottles, plastic this, plastic that. You put it inside a reactor, and then it turns it back into crude oil, and then he manufactures for gas. He call it Plastolene. You can put it right in your engine. And people, that's today. That's going on today. Or our Army buddy Wes Moore, who made the AWG, the atmospheric water generator machine, where he went to Flint, Michigan, was giving them potable drinking water, turning it on, capturing the moisture out of the air, then transforming that into potable drinking water. But when black people,
do you know? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know who Aaron Salter is, right?
I'm not familiar with that name.
He was the black security guard that was killed during that attack up in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
He invented a water-powered engine. So
I remember that. Now I remember that because they thought that it was a hit.
Yeah, he invented a water-powered engine, and he was going to make it affordable so that everybody could convert their cars to burn water instead of gasoline. So my question is this: where was Joe Biden during that whole time? Where were the illegal immigrants talking about how Joe Biden was doing nothing for us while he was in the office? Where was Joe Biden or anybody of these leftist bootlicks is what I call them? Where were talking about the things that happened to us under Joe Biden? You see what I'm saying?
I kind of want to touch on this because I don't know if you was going this way, but I definitely want to go there because we keep trying to get pulled into supporting something that's illegally to our country. And we are American citizens. And I'm talking about foundational black Americans who've been here generations ever since 1526 and beyond. Mm-hmm. And we keep trying to get pulled into this fight, into this protest. First and foremost, we don't want to support lawlessness. That's number one. Right. Number two, my question is this. We can give you a couple of pointers, give you some information. Here's my first thing. Why are you guys protesting and rioting? Oh, we're protesting and rioting because our countrymen are getting deported. Okay, why are they getting deported? Well, their immigration status is not correct. Or, oh, do you mean they're illegally in the country? Absolutely. Then we're not supporting that. But I can tell you, as you guys are protesting illegally, what about curate some sort of legislation to be pushed to the current administration? You ever thought about that? Because I haven't heard of any legislation that they're just protesting, rioting anytime, because they always say that black people are not organized. Black people are a bunch of buffoons. They're stupid. They're idiots. They don't support themselves. They have no culture. All these things. But Ricky, I tell you that I see these things and I'm just like, that's not who we are. And I got a list here. If we go back to 1863, the Civil War Conscription Act, that was unjust draft law exemption inequity that stopped people from just getting grouped up and going to war. If I go through Browder versus Gale, bus desegregation following the Rosa Parks arrests, the lunch counter segregation sit-ins that desegregated of Arlington counters, Birmingham, Alabama back in 63, Youth Against Segregation met with violence that paved the way for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Just as well in 1964, helped pass the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Then you have the Voting Disenfranchisement Police Brutality Act of 1965. So again, we look at all these different legislations that we have. Even today, now, the George Floyd and Policing Act, a nothing burger, the Emmett Till Act. But even though a lot of these acts are nothing burgers, we were still trying to do something legally because of the injustice of our people. Now, if you believe that you're being unjust, which, again, if you're illegal, you have no justice in the country that you're not a citizen of. But then again, you could still at least try to do legal means. The citizens of that group need to start curating legislation for the people who are illegally in the country. Exactly. Then some people will start to argue, well, they're illegally in the country. They first need to be deported and then come in through legal means, come in the right way. And I will have to agree with that as well. But don't call out a group of people that you never massively supported to massively support you and then speak racial tropes and defamatory language towards us. Oh, you think that's going to guilt trip us into coming out there? No, I have my choice words. And again, this is not towards a particular community. This is towards anybody and everybody, every race, ethnic, creed, religion, whatever it may be. Those who are supporting illegal immigrants in our country, no matter their race and no matter what country they come from, I don't think majority of Black Americans are going to stand for that and or support that. We have our own issues that we're still trying to push through the administration.
Well, do you see where these Democratic talking heads that are popular on social media are now coming after the foundation of Black American movement?
I mean, that's always been a thing
by the feds and whatnot. And here's the, but see, here's the crazy part about that. The reason that so many white people or people outside of our community see us the way that they do is because who the mainstream media points the camera at. So when they point the camera at, you know, your Al Sharptons, your Messi Jacksons, when they give the algorithms to these, you know, race hustling pimps, then somebody from the outside is going to look at that and see the support that they're getting and the numbers and the views that they're getting and think that this is the voice of Black America when it's not. What the FBA movement had done is took the monopoly of the Black image away from them. It took the monopoly of the Black voice away from them. So now they're running scared, talking about wanting to have debates and whatnot. Yeah, so that's why they're coming after, you know, these are the people that get up there and say we need to stand with our Mexican brothers and sisters. No, we don't. No, we don't. But, you know, these people that get these big platforms and they get paid by the Democratic Party to say these things, to forge the voice of Black America. Nobody was cheering for a George Floyd statue, but they'll point the damn camera at what I would call these idiots, the true coons, the true sellouts. They would point the camera at these people posing with the George Floyd statue when that nobody in Black America wanted that. They'll show these idiots talking about the Martin Luther King statue in Washington, D.C., talking about, see, look at this. We're celebrating. They got a statue of MLK. Dude looking like Genghis Khan. Wasn't even sculpted by an American. It was sculpted by somebody from China that don't even know us or probably don't like us as a people. These are the people that we're getting the sculpt statues of us. We're getting, and then on top of that, we got to have Hollywood to tell our story. And then when they tell our story, who do they put in front of the camera? They don't put straight Black men in front of the camera that can actually be an icon for young Black boys to look up to. I mean, I was a Doctor Who fan. Now, my wife doesn't understand this, but I had to tell her from my point of view, as a straight Black man, ain't no way when they finally gave us a Black Doctor Who, they gave us a man who lived a alternative sexual lifestyle, right? So why is it that every time they throw a Black man in front of the camera, either they got to be Democratic shilling, speaking against our interests, or they got to live some kind of alternative sexual lifestyle?
Or they're a criminal.
Or they're a criminal. Or they're a criminal. So this is what we got speaking up for Black America. And, you know, that they give the microphone to. And I think the most racist thing that the leftist media could do is point a camera at Al Sharpton and say, that's the voice of Black America. Is point a camera at Benjamin Chump and say, that's the voice of Black America. You know what I'm saying? People aren't getting a chance to sit down and talk to Black people. Or when they talk about ghetto Black people. You know, I lived in the hood before. And some of those people in the hood are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. They'll give you their last. They know they're poor, right? But they'll give you their last because a lot of them are very religious. But why do they get so much? Why do they give these Democrats so much support? Because the Democrats say we care about you and one day we're going to change your situation. And they got their minds screwed up by, you know, attacking their mental state in church. You know, giving them this faith-based religion. And a lot of these Black folks that go to these churches, they don't read the Bible. They go by what the preacher says, and they pay the preacher handsomely to get them voting Democrat. Now, I'm not saying Black people should vote Republican, but I am saying that you should vote based on what's good for you. Illegal immigration is not good for you.
I was just going to say that I think we have to understand, and I said this before, that we were mostly Republican prior to the civil rights being signed by Lyndon B. Johnson by the way of Martin Luther King. So we were majority Republican. And I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not anything. But again, if we look at what the Democrats have done, nothing. They've given a lot of choice words. They pat us on our back. They rub our tummies for us, but they only give us symbolism. Going back to what you're saying about George Floyd, they only give us symbolism, not tangible results. We have almost 1 million black people that are homeless in this country. You didn't see them go out and try to rehab them, give them shelter, give them apartments, give them a driver's license to put them back on their feet. Why can't the American dollar support those who are in dire need in this country who are citizens? Thus, we're bringing in these large groups of people. And I think the best thing for Black American, and I know a lot of people disagree with me because they probably don't understand the sense I'm coming from, was for Donald Trump to win.
That was the best thing for Black America at this moment in time.
Even if we hate it, because it showed a lot of things that were being hidden from us and how the Democratic Party was going against our own interests when we actually looked at it. Because here's the thing, if you talk about it, say, well, the food is making us sick. The food is why I have dementia. The food, because of the red dyes and the chemical and the preservatives and the 35 different sugars that they put in food that make our food addictive. Then they say, you know what? We're going to get RFK Jr. He's not a Democrat, nor he's not a Republican. He's an independent, but he's strongly talking about eradicating these same chemicals that they don't have in the UK, these same chemicals that they don't have in Asia. He's going to take that out of our food and make America healthy again. And what they mean by that is there was a time where people used to do trade and farms. Everybody used to go to the farmer's market before grocery stores and the food industry altogether became a large business, became corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
So when those dynamics change, like, wouldn't you want RFK in office? Wouldn't you want your food to be healthier? Well, yeah. Okay, we have people who are legally in our country. Not all of them are criminals when we come to violent crimes. Now, all of them are criminal who are illegally in the country. But then you have a violent group of them. But we don't know who's who. We don't know who the violent ones, who's not the violent ones. Should they come in our country, or would you want secure borders? So we have a vetting process, an immigration process that vet these people and track these people once they're in that country just as well as every other country in the world. Wouldn't you want that? Oh, well, yeah. Well, it looks like you should be voting not for Donald Trump. Take the man out of the picture. Vote for what he's going to do. I can tell you all day, baby, I love you. But then I punch you in your face. Oh, baby, I love you. Then I cheat on you. Then, baby, I love you. I degrade you in front of your friends and my friends. That don't look like love to me. Those are judging someone based upon action, not their words. So again, yeah, he's the most volatile figure in the past 50 years or so. 50 years or so, he's the most volatile figure. But again, some of the things, not all, I don't agree with all. Some of the things to do, I'm pretty sure a lot of Black Americans will be behind.
The thing
free ride is over.
I want to say something about Denise Carroll's comment here. I was in Wally World about 2 weeks ago, right? I try to avoid Walmart like the plague, but they got these little waters that I like to get out of there, the little flavored waters. I don't have a bottle right here in my studio. So all I had was my flavor water and some deodorant. I'm trying to get to the line so I could get checked out. Here comes a person from south of the border that barely speaks English with a wick, with 2 shopping carts. She hurried to get in front of me. Didn't have no respect. So I got frustrated because I don't like going to those self-checkout lines. I'm going where the cashier is. And when they got a wick, they got to sign off on every order that's in that shopping cart. She had 2 shopping carts full. And I said, damn, lady, you could have let me get in front of you. Is this the way to treat someone who's paying for your groceries? There was a white guy.
I don't know if that's how that works, Ricky.
There was a white guy who was in the store. He had a Trump hat on. And he looking at me like, hell yeah. I was like, no, I'm speaking some truth here. I'm paying for this helper's groceries, and she couldn't let me get my 2 items and get the hell on through.
I mean,
You know
you
what I'm
wasn't
saying?
personally paying for it.
I think I paid a lot in taxes last year. I paid the taxes last year what I used to make a year back in 2015. So yeah, I paid for those groceries. I
You
probably
see where
paid
user
over.
you see where user said he gave you some cash.
User says, I'm embarrassed as a Hispanic American. No one listens. And if I say something, I get called whitewashed. Hold on for a second. First, let me dance for my butter biscuits. You know what I do? Thanks for the $5.
My good friend.
Had to dance for my butter biscuits there. And listen, user, don't feel embarrassed because you're Hispanic. Don't. Because I go through the same thing when dealing with a lot of these black Democrats. I get called whitewashed when I speak against the narrative of the left. So don't feel embarrassed. You speak your mind. As a matter of fact, what I encourage you to do, because you sound like you got a lot to say, you've been in my chat room many times before, start a YouTube channel. Start a YouTube channel. I promise you, this is the best mental health therapy that you can ever have, because you're going to realize that there's a lot of Hispanics who feel the same way that you do. You feel me? So, user, I thank you for your support, but start a YouTube channel. You would be surprised the outreach. Like me, as a melanated American, right? I had this lens over my eyes, and I was embarrassed to be black at one moment in time, because all I saw was the way black people were acting on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, they're calling me whitewashed. This is the way black people really feel as a whole. All right, fuck them. Fuck them all. I was that way. Then I started listening to Jason Black. Then I saw Black Alpha's channel emerge. Saw this brother here. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So, and they have large followings. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn it, I'm not the only one that feels this way, that looks like me. And I felt bad, because for the longest, I was like ready to throw in the towel on black people. But we have a large number of black people. They're not conservative. He's not Donald, he's not MAGA. Jason Black's not MAGA. You know what I'm saying? None of these cats in the FBA movement are MAGA. A lot of them voted for their couches, but they back up what Donald Trump is doing when it comes to illegal immigrants. So you'd be surprised how many Latinos feel the same way that you do. And yeah, you got to get called whitewashed because you're not, going in with the crowd.
I also want to comment on that, because I think people get confused. We automatically categorize and demonize Hispanic people for being illegal immigrants. And I think that's unfair. I think that's unjust, because, as I stated before, back in 1848, you had the Guadalupe and Hidalgo Treaty, the Treaty of Guadalupe and Hidalgo, which this is when America acquired California from Mexico. And Mexico sold California for $15 million and the property and state right of those Mexicans living in California at the time. Now, 1848 is before 1863. If anybody understand what I'm referring to, if I can't recall correctly,
Civil War.
The Emancipation Proclamation occurred in 1863. So I could argue that some of the first non-white by the United States of America were Hispanic. So we have a lot of people who are Hispanic who've been here for generations as well. So I don't like to demonize a certain group of people, because, again, there's certain factions. Hispanics are not a monolith. Latinos are not a monolith. You have those people who generations, 3, 4, 5 generations, who are American. They're a part of the American infrastructure. And then you have people, unfortunately, that look like them, that talk like them, who have some of the same culture, who are legally in the country. but these are two different groups. Now, you're going to have groups who've been here for a long time who are going to team up with their countrymen, and then you're not going to have another faction of them not agree with that because they are legally in the country and they've been here for generations, and or they came here legally. Because that's another part, that there's infighting between Hispanics and all these other people from the Caribbean and Africa and Asia. They have infighting because a lot of them have come over here illegally, and now they have all these other people who are over here illegally. They're messing it up. They look at it as, you're messing it up for us. Why don't you just do the right thing and come over here legally? Oh, it's too long. I don't have time. We went through it. We had to deal with it. Why can't you? So again, some of the first Americans were Hispanic.
You know, kind of like my first time ever on a Carnival cruise line, right? Now, you know, as black folks, we see one. This was before like black people and masses started selling on Carnival. So I'm like, man, there's another black person on the boat. Let me go hang out with him. This dude was rowdy. He was a fucking shit stirrer. And I started backing away from him. I'm like, man, the people are looking at me on this boat like I'm with you. Oh, man, I ain't worried about that. No, I'm worried about that. I'm here on vacation. And what it was the boyfriend of a black nurse. And I need not to say anymore if you know what I mean by that. It was the boyfriend of a black nurse. So he didn't have any stake in the game. You know, she paid for his tickets and everything. And I'm sitting up here like, man. And she had to sit down and tell him, look, this ain't the way you act. Because he was like, man, Ricky being funny. No, she had to tell him, Ricky's not being funny. You know, you're being out of line. So, yeah, that happens to a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? And it happens to us more times than we like to admit. It's kind of like if you see a black person that moves into your neighborhood and you're the only black person there, right? And that's the one that's causing all the trouble. But every time he turns around, he feels like he can hang out at your house and be seen with you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to sit down and reel them in like, listen, they don't get down like that over here. But if they continue to act that way, then, of course, you're going to have to separate yourself from them. You know?
You know, the only rich black people that I've seen that act a fool, they're usually in entertainment. I've never seen somebody who went to school or went to trade school, have a job, and be acting a fool. I just haven't seen that. Someone who actually actual career, I haven't seen that on a large scale. I think to me, everybody is like that in their own community when it comes to culture. Like if you don't work for something, you didn't build up to something, then essentially you see some of the this inflammatory acts that we see on social media, right? People are trying to get fame and fortune from that.
Hold that thought real quick. I got to dance for my butter biscuits twice. I got a cash app here for $20. I'm not going to say your government name online. And I got the Informant Media who sent me $2. So let me dance for my butter biscuits real quick. Thank you, guys. You know, I dance for my butter biscuits. I get accused of being a dancer for butter biscuits. So, but yeah, so you're right, because a lot of the black people that I see who got some wealth that acts a fool got a well-to-do girlfriend. You know, like I say, the nurses. Anytime that I see somebody that a black nurse move into this neighborhood, I'm like, please have a decent boyfriend. Please have a decent boyfriend. No, please have a decent boyfriend. Because you know what's going to come with that territory. And nothing against my black nurses out there. Much love, but make better life choices, for real. But you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the entertainers, yeah, they do act a fool. The boyfriends of women who got money, they do act a fool. And then there's a lot of people in MAGA, black MAGA, that acts a fool. What's the guy's name? Anton Daniels. He gets on social media with his little prissy ass talking shit.
No, you brought up his name, Anton Daniels. Seems like to be a very brilliant brother, very intelligent, so to speak. But of course, not all of us agree in this particular space. I think he's totally on the other side. He said some things about black people hating to tip. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, yeah, black people hate to tip. or black people don't tip. And I said, are you black? He said, yes. I said, do you tip? He said, yes. I said, well, there you go. And all the people that I know, let's say 30 of the guys that go on a fishing trip, all black. They all tip. They all have profession. They all have jobs. They all have careers. So when he says it, I said, this is more of an economic and status issue than a racial issue. I've never seen a black person making $70,000 or more. I'm just throwing out a very arbitrary number. $70,000 or more hating to tip or not tipping or not wanting to tip. Now, the ongoing rate that I witness or, experiences from a lot of these restaurants, the majority of the percentage is around 18%, up from 15% and up from 10%. Because when I really got out and going out to eat and some of these, service jobs that people had that you tip, it was 10%. Then it rose to 15%. And now it's at 18%. Some people would even argue 20%. So again, some people may just give you your 18% automatically. But if anybody does it the way I do it, if I get standard service, again, this is very subjective, but if I receive standard service, I give the 18%. If I see like someone exceeded and they went above what I believe my standard tip amount is, I tip 20%. The most I've ever tipped was 25%. So my buddy proceeded to say, well, I've tipped $500 before. Okay, if you believe that the service deserves that $500 tip, then so be it. But don't make this very large comment that everybody that's black don't like to tip or don't hate. And I know we're not a monolith and we're not speaking, but we're talking about the majority. That's not the majority. Talk about the majority of people based upon their economic status. Right. Then I think that would be more metadata for me to understand, because to me, this is not a racial issue. This is more of a status. Because if you telling me Billy Bob in the trailer park is going to the best steakhouse in a restaurant, and when he see his bill, he's going to tip the standard 18%. No, I don't believe. I don't believe that. He said, wait a minute, my bill is $300 and I gotta pay $95 for an 18% tip. They're gonna get this $20. That's what they're gonna get.
Right.
The only thing they did was bring food to my table. So again, that's one of the topics that I saw from Antoine. What's his name? Antonio Daniels.
Let me tell you something real quick about him. People like him, they'll put on the MAGA hat, and their whole thing is to get online and badmouth black people. That's it. It's like, I said in my video yesterday that it doesn't take much to be a conservative grifter, because I've been accused of being a grifter. But if I was a grifter, right, I'm not a smart grifter. I know what I would have to do to be a grifter. Put on the MAGA hat, start trash talking black people. The money will roll right in. The channel count will grow. You see what I'm saying? And then every time somebody says something negative about black people, back them up every time. Every time a black person gets unlawfully shot by the police, back them up every time. You see what I'm saying? Anton Daniels got one of those punchable faces. I couldn't stand, face to face with him and listen to that rhetoric. And, people like that, they talk that mess over the internet. First off, how the hell do you think that you're competing with the white men that you think you're appealing to? No successful white man or black person is sitting on the internet talking about their wealth. And that's what I mean. When you got to sit around and talk about your wealth, then you're not really wealthy. I could dress him up and down and tell that this man did not come from wealth. Rumor has it that he got his money from an inheritance, which that sounds to be more about right. You see what I'm saying? Because the best way to get people to interact with your content is to say shit to piss people off. And, lean one side, toe every party line. So, he was a part of that red pill community, which those are some of the lamest niggas I've seen on social media. I try to leave that, like, how these niggas going to try to tell black men how to score with black women when 9 times out of 10, they're not busting no draws. They spend too much goddamn time on the internet to be high value men. Where do you work a 9 to 5 when you're sitting there posting on social media all day? How are you working for yourself unless social media is your hustle? And if social media is your hustle, then you're not a high value man, because you'll be out there hanging out with other high value men. You see?
Can I take it a different way?
What's that?
I don't want to approach it from the angle you did. I want to approach it from a very analytical, economic way. And what I mean by that is if you look at the algorithms, very complex algorithms of how you get viewership, how you get clicks, how you get subscribers. And you look at an Anton Daniels channel, you look at a Myron Gaines channel, and you see you listen to the rhetoric and they spew. It's anti-black hate. Mm-hmm. And ain't nothing like a man who's black, a man who appears to be black, to speak down to black people, because we're already just coming to the earth according to other, ethnic groups as well as other races. We're already just coming to the earth. We're stupid. We're dumb. Now we have a black person. We have black people to confirm that. So he's going to appeal to black people that think like him. Then he's going to have a lot of people that watch him that are black. Then you're going to have the great majority of your audience to be white, because they're just, oh, see, another black man said it. And you're speaking exactly how they would want you to speak. Being their boy, being their coon, being their dog on the leash. But it's smart if you're trying to be a large YouTuber like Antoine Daniels is, who I believe has over 1 million subscribers, because the formula works. When you look at different people and you look at their subscribers and you listen to what they're talking about, you can look at your Candace Owens. You can look at your Officer Tatum's. You can look at which a lot of red people listen to. What's the guy's name? His father. I think his father is black. His mother is white. Andrew Tate. Yeah, Andrew Tate. Now, there's some things when it comes to business and relationship to a certain degree. I agree with Andrew Tate. Then there's other things I disagree. So again, it's not that I hate these people. I dislike these. Well, if they believe what they say. But yeah, I really think, and my mind tells me, this is not about how they think. This is about how they can make money. Now, of course, again, you will have to label them as sellout because they're doing it for the money. Mm-hmm. Why are you going around hating people that look like you, talking bad about people like you? Could your show be a little more balanced? Could you point out some of the things that black people are not good at, that black people are bad, and then you do that for every other community where your channel is just totally unbiased? But if your main focus is on denigrating black people and not understanding the history, what we've come from, what we've been through, not understanding what we have not been supported, how we've been sabotaged, if you don't understand the current status of majority of black people today, that actually stem from history because of the lack of, or the barriers and pain points that they put in place to stop our progression, where we had to fight for rights that was already in the Constitution, for them to reinforce legislation so we can move about and not be harassed and brutalized. Like, if you're not understanding that, then I already know that you're a sellout. Now, granted, if you can say that we can no longer, we can glance at the past, we can understand the past, but these are some of the things that we're going to do. Speak life into a people who are downtrodden, who doesn't have the best opportunities. Yeah, there are some people who are in the know and still choose to do bad. I'm not talking about them in words. I'm talking about good black people who may not know any better, that you could give them a sense of awakening of how to do better, because you're supposed to have businesses, you got this, that, and the other. There's so many things you can do instead of just continue to bash your people over and over again. Yeah, I know that there's a low-brow community in the black community, but there's a low-brow community in the Hispanic community. There's a low-brow community in the white community. And matter of fact, I even showed the FBI data that's backed by the DOJ of who commits the most violent crimes in America. Ding, ding, ding. It's not black people, it's white Americans. And it wasn't built upon the simple numbers of a population. Well, the numbers are going to be higher because there's more white people than black people. No. They took their percentages and gave the percentage of violent crimes between the two groups, and white people were still higher. That's how you don't fudge the number, so to speak. So again, when I look at people like him, it's about the money.
Let me show you the grift real quick. You ready? I'm getting ready to go into costume, people, so don't take anything that I'm about to say serious. Let me show you how to do it. If I wanted to make this channel grow, watch this. Hold on. First, I change my backdrop like that. You know what I'm saying? Then I put this thing on. How in the hell does 13% of the people commit 55% of the violent crimes?
Your channel You'll have 1 million subscribers by tomorrow.
Black women are known to get abortions. Why don't they stop killing their babies?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And you know what's funny about that hat? Because they got these like official MAGA hats. You can tell the difference. That's not an official MAGA hat. That's like you found it at the dollar store.
Hey, this thing, man. If I wanted to, boy, I could take this thing and I could make me some money. For real. Like, hold on. What was the other one? Well, that Carmelo Anthony is a violent black thug. Huh. Yeah.
And you know what's crazy about that? Carmelo Anthony comes from an affluent family. His father doesn't have a record. His mother doesn't have a record. He didn't have a record until then. So again, you definitely will have. And you know, I'm broadcasting this on my channel as well, and I'm getting some comments from someone who's supposedly Eritrean. And he said, "You guys live for white throwback Jeffrey Dahmer. The full of black tops. We don't trust you, FBA. Martin Luther King Jr." I think they're trolling.
Man,
go ahead.
I got one guy who, what is it? This dude make up troll name after troll name to try to come in here and mess with me. He not only does he do that, he comes into your channel. He goes into, I think he went into Black Alpha's channel, messaged him on Facebook talking about how can you hang out with Ricky Manor? He's such a sellout. Now, you know, he's a Latino guy. You know what I'm saying? Claiming to be half black, but you know, but he got it in for me, man. And he always typed the same thing. Listen, to that troll, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you something to go with here. Change your style if you're going to troll under these different names. You know what I'm saying? Change your style. Don't say the same thing. Now you as a grown man obsessed with another grown man. Because he came in talking about, see, I knew Ricky would be back on the Trump train. No, I support him on this. Not on no Trump train. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You know, somebody's in your chat room talking about they're 17. You might want to get them out of there, man. People be taking
there's you know, it's always something when it comes to social media. There's always something.
Denise Carroll says, Ricky, how are you a sellout? You have a right to change your mind about things that are not right. Exactly. And I mean, I don't let nothing slide. Anything that comes off this side of the aisle that I find to be disgusting, I talk about it. If I find something to be disgusting on the left, I talk about it. I don't pull any punches with anybody. If Donald Trump does something that's really messed up, I talk about it. You see what I'm saying? But I do back him up on this whole thing with the mass deportations. I back him up 110%. He's showing balls. You know what I'm saying? That old man showing some real big dick energy right now. And nobody else has actually tried this. So people are saying, but he's deploying the National Guard on American soil. Well, these are not American citizens. We have foreign invaders right now. You know what I'm saying? We have
they don't want to look at it. They don't want to look at it like that because they've had so much Democratic support of allowing all these people in the country illegally. And they're trying to make it, well, there are some echelons of people trying to make it racial, especially when it comes to black folk. They're trying to make it political, but they're basically stating that they're being discriminated upon, even though a lot of these people are illegally in the country. And to your point, if you're illegally in the country, and if we separate ourselves from that emotion, if you're illegally in the country, then aren't you trespassing? Oh, well, they're here for their families, but aren't they illegally in the country? Well, they're here because their family was separated. And we had presidents like Obama who signed DACA. And again, a lot of these presidents, you better not say nothing about my Obama because of the symbolism of him being a black man. Mm-hmm. Just because he's black doesn't mean he was from black people. Because look at Eric Adams of New York. He was all for sanctuary and protecting illegal immigrants until they came out with charges for him and he looked to President Trump to free him. And all of a sudden, he's now in support of deporting people who are committing violent crimes in New York and deportation, because now he's getting a get out of jail free card, so they can't come after him. So he's doing it for a particular reason. So again, to your point, either a lot of these Democratic people who have black skin, unfortunately, are in place fighting for people like a Karen Bass out of California. Either they're getting paid handsomely or they're in bed with somebody from all these different people. It's something. Because again, why are you supporting people or the act of illegally in our country? And that's the most daunting thing, right? Again, I heard Stephen A. talking about we shouldn't look at these people because if black people was this and black people was that. And I did a broadcast this morning about this. It's not as though Stephen A. may even listen to my channel, but here's the thing. Stephen A., we're talking about black American citizens who are not illegally in the country. So there's two different classifications: citizens who are protected by the Constitution and the laws therein versus people who only have small protections, not even protections, but maybe small privileges and or right under the Constitution, but they don't have the same protective status. Mm-hmm. So I think that is what a lot of people are missing, because again, we're looking at women, children, and men who we believe the mass majority of them are coming over here for a better way of life. Then if that is the case, if they're coming over here for a better way of life, why not abide by our laws? You only abide by the laws that you want to, but not the laws that you state that you love. And again, to the point, we brought this up early in the broadcast, you're waving your country's flag in another country's while telling that country they shouldn't deport you or your people. Like, again, you can't make this up. When I looked at the protest, I saw one American flag. And I said, if anybody, keep him. Because at least smart enough to wave and hold the right flag. I mean, come on.
You know, the way I look at it, though, for these tethers and bootlicks that are still on the Democratic Party that's protesting against us, then why don't Donald Trump do them a favor and send them back to the home countries of the people they're protesting to stay here? Because America would be better off without them. Like, seriously, you're out there pushing for a foreign enemy to invade our soil. America would be better off without you, simply put, because you have no allegiance to America. You see what I'm saying? You are now at that moment in time a terror cell. You've been compromised. And I get it. You know, if you're leaning on the left, that's cool. But if you're so left leaning that you're ready to destroy your country to spite one man, that's a real deep-seated hatred that you have for your country. You see what I'm saying? So if they were to go back to the home countries of these people that are fighting to stay here, then maybe they'll realize how good they had it here. They don't have to come into this country and continue to drive it down. California is a product of liberal policies. All those people out there laying in the streets. You know, Venice Beach, you know, I got a friend of mine that lives out there that's also in the industry with me. Venice Beach is a hellhole right now. People are sleeping in her front yard by night, camping out in her front yard. So why don't they go back to the countries where these people came from? You know what I'm saying? That are wanting to be here illegally, and see how much smoother America would run economically, and see what these other countries that they came from will put up with and will not put up with. You're not going to go to Venezuela and do half the shit that these people are doing in Los Angeles. You're not going to go to anywhere in Mexico, especially around Mexico City, and do half the shit that you're allowed to get away with in America.
I think they should again, I want to go back to this because I guess I want to make it a plan that a lot of these countries can do that are written with high crime, organized crime, cartels, different mafias, etc. Again, I take the blueprint from El Salvador. Now, I know El Salvador is a very small country. I believe Mexico is definitely larger than El Salvador. But one thing you should start doing is recruiting people and safeguarding their families. Move them out of their neighborhoods, recruit a lot of young men that you can cultivate, that you can train, for the military, and you put them in one part of town that's protected, and you increase your fighting force. And once you believe that you have enough people to eradicate a lot of the large cartels first, and then the other factions, and then organized crime, and you've already made Mexico a lot safer, then you start working on your exterior, your borders and things. And then from that point on, you start to cultivate land and farms and this, that, and the other. And instead of picking American fruit, because that's what they say that they do, who's going to pick the American apples if you're going to deport? No, you pick your own fruit in your own country, your own oranges in your own countries, your peaches, whatever it may be. And you start to trade. You start to make product to export to America, which will build your base. That will build your economic base, and then that will call for more people to be in your economy. That way, you won't have mass immigration. Because again, if you're flocking to another country, someone told me they believe that America would never be overpopulated.
Shit.
That America will ever be unpopulated, and that's unreal to believe. Because again, if our population just a couple of years ago was 300 million. Now we're looking at 350 million within 5 to 6 years. America can definitely be populated. Don't get me wrong. Atlanta, all the major cities are overpopulated. That's already overpopulated. But now, like even in my area of Texas, places where there were farmland are being sold left and right for millions of dollars because they're putting housing developments. Why? Because we have a lot of immigrants, illegal and legal, from all these different countries from around the world, from Central America, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from India, from China, from Eastern Europe. A lot of these people are coming to America illegally. So again, America can be overpopulated given it much time, especially at the rate that the Democratic Party allowed illegal immigration. Because a lot of people, again, are tying this to a certain group of people. No, this is a world problem of illegal immigration for America, is that the vast majority and concentrate of those people are from Central America and Mexico. So that's why this is kind of geared towards that. But again, black people getting involved in this? Absolutely not. We don't want to be involved in lawlessness. We don't want to break the law, especially if it's not in our own interests. Because again, as you say, that somebody put, when we're getting bashed across the head by police, if we're getting strung up by white supremacists, we don't see people from these communities, these Haitian communities, these Hispanic communities, these Caribbean communities come out in droves. We stand one-on-one with black people and you're waving your flags to let us know you're from another country, but you're supporting us now. I don't see none of that. I don't see none of it. So to ask us or think that we're going, and again, don't forget over the years, all those white supremacist tropes, all those white supremacist adjacent terms that you guys reverberated inside the community, that we don't work hard, we're welfare kings, where we know that we do work hard. And two, if anybody's welfare kings and queens, then it has to be people who are in the country illegally. And again, I even one more thing, I even pointed out how they have Nazis, neo-Nazis inside of Mexico. And this is not aimed at Mexico, but I'm just kind of giving how a lot of these groups speak are anti-black. Even a lot of Africans that come over here are anti-black American. But go ahead.
There was a guy in he was in one of those 1%er clubs that they don't allow black people, right? And we were at a motorcycle rally. And the one who was doing the most loud talking about black people and black clubs wasn't a white person. It was a Latino person that was riding with them. And I'm thinking, like, dude, really? This is how you feel? Do you know the names that people call you? How you're looked at? But I wanted to put some attention on what Denise Carroll said. She says, all those riders are paid actors. It reminds me of the Summer of Love. No, this is what scares me. It's not the actors that scares me. You got to understand, when that border was open for a while, they was letting men military age in, military fit in, with no families with them. And they're planning on doing a riot on the 14th across the country. Yeah, I got my weaponry locked and loaded. They better not bring that to my neighborhood. You know, there are some things that never escape me. So my thing is, hold on one second. Let me check in the private chat. Okay, I see what you just put in there. But yeah, so we'll wrap this up. Well, what are your final thoughts about them trying to recruit black people in to go on this?
Well, first, I'm happy that we are not largely involved in this. I did see a couple of, there always have to be one. There always have to be two of us in anything. There's always one. But I'm happy with us that we're not getting on board with lawlessness and working against the same country that we say we know and love. And we're working against our own laws that we helped put in place because of this. That's number one. Number two, this is not even race-based. This is about the law. This is about legality. This is about where people come to America for law and order. Now, granted, we're not one of the top 10 safest countries in the world, but nonetheless, we're the country where most people want to come to build family and build businesses and take from what we have built. So I look at it from that standpoint. So again, race is out of the window, even though they make it about race. This is about the law. So this has nothing against, Hispanic people, Latino people, Haitian people, people from all these different countries, Africa, etc., Europe, Asia, no matter where people are from. It's not as though that black people are against you. And I would like to say there's certain factions, certain races, even Asians and whites who are American citizens are not against it. We're against the lawlessness, and we're against people who are illegally in the country, no matter where they're from.
That's the thing right there too, because a lot of people say, well, Darren, Ricky, you don't like Hispanics. No, I love Hispanics. I love Latino people. I can't sit up here and trash talk them when I go to their restaurants every Saturday. You see what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that, like you say, it's the lawlessness that I'm against. And these people that, are in my friend circle offline that are Latinos, they are against this stuff, but you don't hear their voices, and they never, it's a few of them that are brave enough to get on social media and say how they really feel out of fear of being ostracized by their communities. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is this. Now, you're down in Frisco. That's Jasmine Crotch Stink's district, isn't it?
I don't know who our congressperson is. I really don't know.
Yeah,
that's something that I should know. Good point. No, you know what? I think Jasmine Crockett is over Houston.
I thought she was over Dallas.
Let me
see. Jasmine Crotch Stink has to be over Dallas, because the thing was, I saw a TikTok where people were actually getting ready to pull that mess in Dallas, Texas. So I wanted to give you a heads up on that for you and your safety of you and your family.
You're correct. It is Jasmine Crockett. Okay. For some reason, I thought she was Houston. Okay.
I call her Jasmine Crotch Stink.
Yeah, she went to University of Houston Law Center. So maybe because I did do research on her. I thought it was, I knew. Yeah, I forgot. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot.
But yeah, tell her. I know you got to wrap it up. So tell the people how they can find you. Throw your link in the chat room, and so they can subscribe to your channel.
Most definitely. So again, I have a channel that I do political breakdowns of news with sort of a black twist at the end. The name of the channel is Black Logic, and yeah, that's about it.
All right.
But I'll see if I can find one of my links so I can put it in the chat.
And I see you go live just about every day or put a video up every day. So you have some interesting takes on things.
Yeah, more times than not, I try to do that. I kind of slow down my productions on the weekend just to have more time with the family. But other than that, yeah, I post at least one video Monday through Friday for the most part. Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. It was good having you on today, man. We got to do this again sometime soon. And I'll let you get back to what you're doing, man. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. You have a great and wonderful evening.
Hey, you do the same. Stay safe out there in Texas. That was Black Logic. His link is in the chat room. Go ahead and give him a follow. Let me see here. Let me see. It didn't post in my chat. Hold on one second. Let me copy this. But that's Black Logic. That's his channel. You guys check him out. He does a video Monday through Friday. He also has where he went to Thailand and traveled throughout Asia, Vietnam. So check him out. Pretty interesting stuff. He's one of those hidden gems on YouTube. So check him out so he's not so hidden anymore. And with that being said, my fellow patriots, where we go one, we go all. United we stand, divided we fall. I'm Ricky Manor of the Melanated Rebel News Network signing off. God bless you all. God bless America.